We take a look at the newest members of Taiwan's cabinet after a major reshuffling.
A political firestorm over Taiwan's foreign minister reportedly visiting the Philippines. One expert tells TaiwanPlus the trip did not violate any norms.
It's not a violation of One China policy, primarily because it has something to do with trade and investment issues.
Taiwan-US drone industry cooperation is gliding along as the US invites Taiwan to set up factories there. Plus, Taiwan's women's tug-of-war team won gold at the World Games in Chengdu, China. TaiwanPlus speaks to the athletes about their victory. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Laurel Stewart. Taiwan's incoming cabinet met for the first time on Thursday morning, introducing 16 members. They're promising to bring positive change for the nation's economy and social welfare. Tiffany Wong has more.
Taiwan has renovated its cabinet. Premier Zhou Rongtai introduced 16 new members who will lead major government agencies in charge of economic development, health, and social welfare policies. They're here to bring fresh leadership to the team after major setbacks over the past year, like a series of failed recall votes and several devastating storms. Premier Zhou Rongtai will continue to lead the cabinet and said he was both excited and nervous to move forward with the new group.
我会要求未来所有的内阁团队要加速行动，积极认识，要有感施政，而且要我本身做起。我们用同样的标准来回应给国人在这段时间对整个执政团队所有的指教，所有强烈的要求，我们都必须一一面对。
President Lai Ching-te worked closely with the first cabinet, and he says he is hopeful that the new one will be able to focus on serving the people.
那我们希望整个内阁重新调整之后，能够以4个优先来作为目标。第一个就是经济发展优先，第二个是民生优先，第三个是青年优先，第四个是弱势优先。然后也祝福整个内阁未来能够各项施政 都能够接近民意的要求，更符合社会的期待。
There are some familiar faces among the newcomers. Gong Min-shin, who will be taking over the Economy Ministry, is a seasoned cabinet member who currently serves as its Secretary General. He was also previously head of the National Development Council.
中小微企业跟传产是台湾产业发展的根，经济部永远跟这些产业站在一起啊。 那我们事实上，我们共同经历了过去这个美中贸易战的1.0，还有 COVID-19 的挑战，我们都度过了。我相信这一次我们跟中小微企业还有传统产业一定也可以度过挑战。
Other new cabinet officials hope to bring knowledge from their fields of expertise in science and technology or even sports to the government. Like Li Yang, two-time Olympic gold medalist in men's doubles badminton, who will be the very first to head the new sports ministry and the youngest minister in Taiwan's history at age 30. But there are doubts about whether these changes will be enough to advance the ruling party's policies and appease the opposition.
The chances of the new cabinet are going to be able to work well with the opposition already do not look good. For one thing, it's a fairly minor change. And second of all, both the KMT and TPP have come out attacking the changes. The KMT specifically called the choices disappointing, and they said that the Lai administration has not self-reflected on the recall losses.
Moving forward, all eyes will be on the new cabinet to bridge Taiwan's growing political divides and see if they can last the next few years. Luffy Li, Joseph Wu, and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan-Philippine ties are coming under scrutiny as the Philippine Senate examines a visit by a Taiwanese delegation to Manila. The group, made up of Taiwanese officials and business leaders, is in the Philippines to promote trade and investment. But the trip has sparked controversy. Taiwan's United Daily News reported that Foreign Minister Lin Jialong is part of the delegation, citing a Facebook post that has since been deleted. Some Philippine senators warn the visit could provoke China, but the Philippine foreign minister says the country's engagement with Taiwan has nothing to do with Taipei's ties with Beijing.
Successive administrations have reinforced the One China policy through separate but related issuances, and that the Filipino people have long-standing relations with the Taiwanese people and we therefore benefit from continued engagement with them.
Taiwan's foreign ministry confirmed the delegation, but would not comment on whether the foreign minister joined. To find out what the trip could mean for Taiwan-Philippines relations, our reporter Alan Liu spoke with Renato Cruz de Castro from De La Salle University.
Taiwan's Foreign Minister Lin Jialong's reported visit to the Philippines will be the highest level trip since Manila eased its restriction on engagement with Taiwan in April. How would you view this development?
First, we have to ask the question, did that event really happen? So just in case, of course, it really did happen, I think this is really more as a result of the move of the Philippine government to amend its 1987 executive order regarding a very strict One China policy. So, of course, you have Memorandum 82 that came out just April, which actually encourages exchanges when it comes to trade, economic, and cultural activities.
What impact could Taiwan's delegation to the Philippines have on Taiwan-Philippines trade and economic relations?
They're part of the U.S.-Taiwan Economic Council. So again, this is not simply Taiwan, it is Taiwanese and American businessmen who have, of course, interest in investing in the Luzon corridor. So this is a goal of the Philippines, Japan, and the United States to develop what we call the Luzon corridor. So, just in case you have, of course, the U.S.-Taiwan Economic Council interested in this corridor, that's good for the Philippines. That's good for business. It's not a violation of One China policy, primarily because it has something to do with trade and investment issues.
Some Philippine senators have warned that this trip could provoke China. Do you think it will?
Definitely, China would react, despite the fact that his presence here was, of course, just in case it's true, was primarily an economic. He's there not to represent Taiwan as a diplomat, but as part of a trade delegation, which is actually allowed by Memorandum 82. As long as the relationship is economic, cultural, trade, it is not a violation of the One China policy.
That was Professor Renato Cruz de Castro from De La Salle University. China says 26 foreign leaders are set to attend a September 3rd military parade commemorating Japan's 1945 surrender and withdrawal from China. The guest list includes Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. As well as marking the day 8 years of war ended, the parade will also show off China's latest military might. More than 10,000 troops are likely to take part, and some of its advanced weapons are expected to be in the spotlight. Taiwan is seeing a rise in Chinese military activity around the country. The Defense Ministry says it spotted 41 Chinese military aircraft, 7 naval vessels, and 1 official ship operating near Taiwan in the 24 hours leading up to Thursday morning. 24 of those aircraft entered Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. This area is not Taiwan's airspace, but acts as a defensive buffer zone. Recent reports say that Taiwan and the US plan to strengthen cooperation in drone manufacturing and innovation. Both sides say their goal is to create a China-free supply chain. Alan Liu has more.
Taiwan is strengthening its strong cooperation with the US. Washington has reportedly invited Taiwan's Aerospace Industrial Development Corporation to lead a national team of drone firms to set up factories in the US, aimed at building a China-free supply chain. A lawmaker says the initiative would boost Taiwan's security and its economy.
透过美国的通路进入全球的市场，它是一个经济产业的新通路。那另外在安全上，不管是平时或战时，它提供了台湾可以自己生产、自给自足的战备纵深。
That's not the only big news for Taiwan's strong ambitions. The Financial Times reports that Washington plans to send a representative to Taiwan this year to speed up cooperation on drones and tap into Taiwan's tech sector. The Defense Ministry says Taiwan and the U.S. have long maintained close military cooperation, but declined to comment on specific cases. The developments have some hoping Taiwan's defense industry can go global and even become the country's next signature industry.
我们一直说台积电可能是护国神山，那我们能不能去打造另外一个新的产业，再前进这一个国际？我觉得这个对我们台湾整体的安全来看，除了半导体之外，未来我们能不能去利用军工走向世界，会是接下来蛮重要的一环。
This and other cooperation on drones have received growing fanfare from the U.S. side. Earlier this year, the director of the American Institutes in Taiwan, the de facto U.S. embassy, called the countries a perfect match when it comes to drone tech. More recently, the AIT has stressed publicly that it's actively engaging with Taiwan's ruling and main opposition parties on the defense budgets. With reports now emerging that Taiwan plans to send a national drone team to the U.S., these unmanned vehicles look set to become a key pillar of U.S.-Taiwan defense industry cooperation. Ethan Pan and Ellen Liu for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan prosecutors have indicted 3 people for stealing TSMC trade secrets. The defendants are accused of conspiring to steal information about the company's advanced 2-nanometer process and using it to help Japan's Tokyo Electron compete for TSMC supplier deals. A former TSMC employee now at Tokyo Electron faces 14 years in prison, while 2 ex-engineers face 9 and 7 years. This is the first case under the amended National Security Act, which covers state-level economic espionage. AI chip giant Nvidia has announced revenue of nearly $47 billion for the second quarter, a 56% increase from last year, driven by strong AI demand. Nvidia expects $54 billion in sales this quarter. While the figures are above analysts' estimates, its stock dipped in after-hours trading amid concerns over China's outlook and US-China tensions. CEO Jensen Huang said the company may bring its Blackwell chips to China and urged the US to ease export restrictions. For more on what Nvidia's latest earnings mean for the AI industry and its China business, Chris Gorin spoke to Bob O'Donnell, president of Technalysis Research.
The world's most valuable company, U.S. chipmaker Nvidia, just released their second quarter earnings, reporting nearly $47 billion in revenue, slightly beating analyst estimates. And yet their stock was down 3% in extended trading. Bob, what's going on here?
Well, look, here's the challenge with Nvidia now is we're hitting the law of big numbers, meaning as you get to income levels that they're hitting nearly $50 billion a quarter, it becomes impossible to have large percentage growth. And so many people are focused on percentage growth. And realistically, that's just not going to happen. And I think the biggest factor for this quarter for Nvidia is the fact that even though they had extraordinarily strong growth, there was a slight miss in data center infrastructure income. And so I think people are really focusing on that because there's been a whole bunch of people waiting for the AI bubble to burst. And so they're looking for any possible sign that that could happen. So unfortunately, it's a question of just completely unrealistic expectations. You can't continue blowing out earnings when you're at this level. And I think that's the market reality.
NVIDIA reported no China sales of its H20 chip in Q2. And that's a chip that was designed specifically for the China market to comply with US chip export rules. They also excluded H20 sales from their Q3 outlook and have reportedly asked partners like Foxconn to cease production on that chip. So is the H20 effectively dead?
No, I don't. Well, I mean, it may be that the H20 is dead because, quite honestly, there's also been a lot of discussion about the fact that NVIDIA already has a successor to the H20. So, but I think the notion of selling something to China, whether it's the H20 or the successor, has not completely gone away. It's clearly paused right now. The fact that NVIDIA had 0 for China when China used to be a big part of their income, and yet they still did as well as they did, shows you just kind of how crazy to think that this AI bubble is over, right? If you had thrown in even a little bit of China income, they would have blown away the quarter, right? Or they certainly would have had a bigger blowout or a bigger set of numbers than they currently had. So, you know, the potential upside of China on top of all the growth that they're still expecting without China tells you that, look, there's still plenty of opportunity here.
NVIDIA made no China sales of the H20, but they did sell about $650 million of H20s to a customer outside of China. What kind of customers would be interested in this ostensibly China-only chip?
Well, there's plenty of people theoretically who could use it. Again, I mean, you could see, first of all, you could see other countries around the world. Everybody's trying to do their own sovereign AI, right? Sovereign AI has become a big thing where countries around the world want to build their own data centers. They don't want to rely necessarily on just US-based hyperscalers. So there are plenty of other countries around the world where that's probably being purchased. Not everybody has to have the latest chips. The biggest guys do, but you know, smaller countries, countries just starting doing an AI build out, enterprises themselves, there's plenty of demand for, you know, not, you know, N-1, as they say, chips. And that's what you've got with the H20.
That was Bob O'Donnell from Technalysis Research. US tariffs of up to 50% are now in place on Indian goods, putting those reliant on India's biggest export market at risk. The tariffs have sparked a range of reactions in India, but it seems they're dragging the country's US ties to a low point. John Van Trieste reports.
Leather workers at this factory in Kanpur, India, are busy readying handbags for export. But starting from today, their livelihoods could be at stake. The U.S. is now imposing tariffs of up to 50% on Indian goods, and exporters like the owners of this factory are bracing for impact as U.S. clients cancel orders.
The situation is really bad now. We send our products to other countries and produce for local markets as well. Some factories are working, however, there are many factories that were totally dependent on the U.S. market. They have stopped all work.
The tariff rate on India is among the most punitive the U.S. Trump administration has rolled out, meaning other countries that make similar goods will have an advantage over India in the U.S. market. It's a potential catastrophe. The U.S. is India's biggest export market, worth more than $86 billion a year. And the tariffs could also hurt India's growing status as a manufacturing center. The high rate is meant to punish India for continuing to buy Russian oil as Trump tries to end the Russia-Ukraine war. But some in India see hypocrisy in the measure.
Europe and America both buy so many materials from Russia. And we read that one of the American companies, Standard Oil, they are thinking of buying Russian oil fields. So America and its allies, they are totally engaged with Russia.
And for India, Russian oil, sold at a discount, allows large savings while giving its more than 1 billion people affordable energy. Not all Indians are alarmed at the tariffs. Some in the garment industry, for instance, even think it will soon be business as usual again.
The big effect, I would say, temporarily, for a few weeks or months, then things will becoming normal because the importers, brands will adjust to their price levels.
But on the streets of the capital, New Delhi, there's a feeling of being wronged. And some say it's important for India to start moving past its reliance on the U.S.
We should try to sell our products within our country as much as possible. And if we have to export, we should reach out to other nations instead of the U.S. For instance, Russia has been a good friend, or even the Middle Eastern nations. So we should export to these nations. However, we should not be scared of the tariffs imposed by the U.S., and we should keep our stance clear.
Donald Trump and Indian Prime Minister Modi once considered each other good friends, but relations are now at a low point. And with the punishing tariffs now in place, patching up ties between the world's two biggest democracies may not be easy. John Su and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Earlier this month, Taiwan won its first gold medal at the World Games in Chengdu, China, with the women's tug-of-war team making it to the top of the podium for the 6th time since 2005. With the athletes now back in Taiwan, our reporter Sandy Chi went to find out how they pulled it off.
A sport all about strength, technique, teamwork, endurance, and most importantly, determination.
永不放弃，对吧？因为其实就不管场地多么困难、多么难拉，但是我们都是保持着一定要赢的决心，就是都不能放弃任何的机会。就算已经被拉过去3公尺，但我们至少还有1公尺可以就是拉回来。
This tenacity carried Taiwan's Tug-of-War athletes to the top of the podium at the 2025 World Games in Chengdu, China, where they defeated Switzerland in the women's 500-kilogram final. The victory marks Taiwan's 6th consecutive gold in the event since 2005.
所以我觉得它对我们来说是一个很重要的一件事情，也是一个肯定，也是一个责任。对，因为我觉得这是我们长时间、长期就是打拼下来的。
This journey was fraught with challenges, not only battling their opponents, but also contending with heavy rain. But through these challenges, the athletes emerged stronger than ever, pushing themselves beyond their limits and making crucial adjustments after every game.
我觉得最好是因为教练也跟着我们一起这样淋雨，然后团队也没有因为下雨，然后就是去害怕说不敢做什么动作，然后反而是越下雨，我们好像气势有越来越强大这样子。
On top of the tough conditions, the team also carried a disadvantage: their height.
一定会有压力啊，因为我其实是拉1的，对，我是拉第1个，然后每次站在前面就会看到对手就是每个都比我们高。
To make up for that disadvantage, the athletes endured grueling training, 6 days a week, starting early in the mornings and sometimes lasting until 9 p.m. Their regimen included strength training, explosive power exercises, endurance work, and grip strength development.
把这样辛苦的训练，他枯燥乏味，那也没有英雄主义，不像打篮球、打排球，可能一个 MVP 就可以掌控全场。我们这没有。那训练上因为场地不一样，所以要考量因素又比较多。我常跟他们讲说，你们要做最坏的打算，你的力量要比对手还要大。不管在哪的场地，你也需要耐力要比对手好。
Despite the rigorous training, the athletes never backed away.
所以我觉得我们选手里面服从性特高。那所以他们能够接受我开给他们的课表，那可以完全接受之下所产生出来的一些技术层面为相对高，那团队默契为相对好。
Now, with gold secured at the 2025 World Games in China, Taiwan's Tug-of-War team now sets its sights on the World Championships in Nottingham, UK this September, driven by the same determination that has kept them at the top of the sport. Chris Ma and Sani Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's homegrown comic scene is stepping into the global spotlight with a new exhibition in Tokyo. As Ting Ye reports, the art form not only entertains, it also tells the story of Taiwan's long search for identity.
Comics. Not only entertainment, but a way for people to reflect on society through time. Illustrated prints have been around in Taiwan from as early as the 19th century. But it wasn't until Japanese colonial rule that comics began to take shape, spreading through magazines and newspapers. Until 1949, when the Chinese Nationalist Party, or KMT, fled to Taiwan, and under martial law worked to remove all Japanese influence. Strict censorship required every strip to undergo review, and the industry nearly died.
那在那么严格的或者是自由新政的审查制度之下，能够进来并且很方便的能够快速流通的，其实就是盗版漫画。那其实这一代的人大部分都是看日本盗版漫画成长的，所以他们的漫画语言里面其实也有很重的日本漫画的成分。
But the KMT also used comics for anti-communist propaganda, sparking a wave of publications across the island. And the new generation of comic artists try to differentiate themselves from the Japanese style, some by blending traditional Chinese elements into original comics.
他们还有非常 重的那一种，我们是中华文化儿女，我们复兴中华文化或者是传承历史文化的责任是在我们身上。那所以以中国历史或者是中华式的中华风，我们现在叫中华风的这种东西，来标榜所谓的台湾漫画，其实对当时的创作者或读者来说是非常理所当然的事情。
After martial law ended, Taiwanese comics regained their freedom. Stories are now rooted in Taiwan, and the launch of the Creative Comic Collection, or CCC, gave the movement new momentum.
原本它的目的可能是为了要把台湾的文史，然后这些典藏品，然后用一个什么样子故事行销的方式来推广出去，这样子。那这跟当时的台湾的文史本土的研究开始变多有很大的关系。
The collection pairs vibrant comics with newly digitalized historical archives, using Taiwan's past to tell stories about its culture and identity. The mix of creative freedom and accessible resources has fueled a new wave of Taiwanese comics, many exploring local themes and diverse social issues.
台湾的漫画作品来讲的话，我觉得他们优势当然是一个是在它的一个多元性。我们在性别议题，然后在这种性别平权相关的这种题目的创作非常非常的多，然后也突破性很大。这个跟日韩、中国等等，他们都可能会有一些各自的包袱来讲的话，我觉得是一个蛮突出的地方。
Many Taiwanese comics have now been translated into multiple languages, and they are being welcomed abroad. And just like Taiwan's journey, the industry is turning challenges into stories, and stories into identity. Andy Xue, Alec McDonald, and Ting Ye for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care and see you next time.